What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the Neighborhood Podcast. One of the hosts of the podcast. My name is Kyle Dabro. So, in this video, we're going to go over the Monday night matchup that took place last night between the Raiders and the Chargers. So, the result from last night's game was the Chargers were able to beat the Raiders by the score of 28 to 14. With the win, the Chargers improved to 3-1 on the season. And for the Raiders, their undefeated season does come to an end in week 4, and they fall back to 3-1 from the loss. So to kind of dive into this game, we'll focus on the Chargers here first. The Chargers were impressive against the Raiders, and it's like I said, the Raiders were the ones who were coming into this game. They were undefeated at 3-0. And right from the start, I thought it was a one-sided affair in the first half because the Chargers went up 21-0 going into halftime. And that was due into part what LA's offense was able to produce against that Vegas defense. In the first half, Justin Herbert only had 5 incompletions. He threw for about 175 yards, and he had 3 first half touchdowns. He ended up finishing the game with 222 yards passing, and he was relatively efficient throughout the game. I thought out of the backfield, I thought Austin Eckler was great for LA. He had over 140 scrimmage yards, and he had 2 total touchdowns. He had 1 receiving touchdown and 1 rushing touchdown as well. And as far as their wideouts go, typically we focus on Keenan Allen or Mike Williams being the featured wide receivers for the Chargers. In this game, they were relatively held in check to me, but I thought that Jared Cook was the standout out of all of them. He had 6 catches, 70 yards, and a receiving touchdown. And I thought Justin Herbert did a really good job of being able to distribute the ball across the board to all of his targets in this game. But I definitely thought that Jared Cook made the biggest impact out of all of them. And defensively, I thought the Chargers played outstanding in the first half, containing the Raiders' offense. Because the way that I looked at this game, there weren't too many highlights that I can really remember from the Raiders in the first half. In the second half, they did take their foot off the pedal. They did give up back-to-back touchdowns in the third quarter. But when the Raiders were threatening to tie the game in the fourth quarter, the Chargers defense was sensational. They stepped up and they stopped Vegas's momentum dead in their tracks. Overall, outside of the third quarter from the Chargers, I thought LA played a great all-around game. They didn't turn the ball over. Justin was solid for them once again. And that defense was able to contain a high-powered offense in what the Raiders had to 14 points. So moving forward, the Chargers are at 3-1. They're tied for the top spot in the AFC West. And this is a team not to be slept on moving forward. So this was a great performance from the Chargers. And then to kind of kick it over to the Raiders, it's like I said, their undefeated season comes to an end after week 4. And just looking at this game from Vegas's perspective, they lost this one in the first half. I don't know what happened to the Raiders offense in the first half. Not only their offense, but their defense as well. It looked like they were sleepwalking. They had 51 yards of total offense in the first half. And you could tell that John Gruden was visibly frustrated with the lack of production he was getting from their offense. And to add to that, they had more yards from penalties than they did from their offense in the first half. And you're going up against the Chargers. The Chargers were coming off one of the biggest wins of the year against the Chiefs in week 3. And I imagine that the point of emphasis that Vegas was trying to establish was to start out hot against LA. But there was no offensive rhythm. They were down 21-0 at halftime. It was just a recipe for disaster for Vegas. Now, it's like I mentioned earlier. Vegas did get it together in the third quarter. They scored 14 unanswered points to start the third quarter, and they closed that deficit to 21-14. But they just couldn't close the gap any more than that. That's not to say that they didn't have their chances in the second half. They had a chance to try to tie the game early in the fourth quarter, but the Chargers were able to sack Derek Carr on a crucial third down stop. And the Raiders were in field goal position to try to get the deficit down to 4 points to 21-17. But they missed a 50-plus yard field goal. And they ended up giving the ball back to the Chargers. And the Chargers ended that possession with a touchdown that put them up 28-14 and essentially ended the game. You got to give credit to the Chargers defense on that third down stop. They ran a bracket coverage on Hunter Renfrow, which essentially means that he's double covered. And that's where Derek was looking to throw the ball towards Hunter. They just couldn't be able to get that pass out, and Derek had to take the sack on that one. It's like I mentioned, The Raiders' offense couldn't get it going in the first half, and it put their defense at a disadvantage. They made solid adjustments in the second half, but it just wasn't enough to overcome the deficit in the first half. The Raiders are still a good team. They're still sitting at 3-1, which is technically a tie with the Broncos and the Chargers at the top of the AFC West. But they'll definitely be looking to improve from this performance going into week 5. So to kind of give you guys an update to where these teams are going next for week 5, the Chargers are going up against the Browns in week 5. That's actually going to be a pretty solid matchup. The Browns are currently 3-1. And then the Raiders, they will square off against the Chicago Bears, who are a subpar team this season going into week 5. So both teams are going to be able to possibly extend their winning ways this season to 4-1 against those teams. But it should be some good matchups for both teams moving forward. So with that said, you guys, that'll pretty much wrap it up from me. If you guys like the video, hit that like button below. If you guys want to support the channel in any way, shape, or form, hit that subscribe button below. Any sort of support that we can get for the channel, Kevin and I definitely appreciate it. We will be coming out with our power rankings in a little bit, so definitely stay tuned for that, and we will see you guys later.